Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I begin with the name of Allah, the most merciful. Firstly, I would like to thank my speaker before me that they have really created the space and they have defined everything, starting from Stuxnet and starting from cyber terrorism and cyber warriors. So that has made my job easy. Very briefly about myself, I already been introduced. So I'll talk about internet. Internet is like water and now air to us now. We had three eras of internet: in the past, in the present, and the future. The internet of the past started from a planet years ago, was there to just communicate between things, that is. So that was the era of things of internet. So starting from things of internet, we have reached to a stage of internet of things. In the present era of internet, you can see all these logos. It's communicating. It's real time. It's responding in milliseconds. But the scary part is the internet of the future, where everything, let me repeat, everything, every device in our home, every device in our office is communicating with each other. Rough estimate is 50 billion devices talking to each other in the year 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to get prepared for this era, and 2020 is not much far, it's only a matter of few years. Yes, they are there for the same purpose. Why they are using internet? So they are doing it for the same purpose on which they are working. Use of internet by terrorists. They are using it for the command control system, for recruiting. The story started when the traditional criminals started using internet. So seeing that success stories, the cyber criminals came forward. They used the same strategy of old traditional criminals but started using two technologies. And seeing their success stories, the terrorists came forward and they started using it. What is the history of threats? Briefly go through. It started from straight kiddies. And naturally, the society appreciated those kids copying some hacking code from a website, pasting it on a wall and stealing the passwords. So the skip kiddies era was very fancy. But now we are cyber criminals. They are very organized, very focused. They exactly know what to do and how to do. So we came from the era of cyber criminals to cyber terrorists. Cyber criminals, they are anonymous. They can incur huge damage by very, very low investment. Sitting on the beach of Philippines somewhere, they can destroy the critical infrastructures in any country. So it's not a virtual world now. It's a real world. It's a world of terrorism, world of terrorists. We started from the stone coins. Today we're in the era of bitcoins. So in between there are a lot of virtual monies, PayPal, credit card, blah, blah, blah. But today the Bitcoin mining, I was reading an article that FIA intends to stop the Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and even the blockchain. So we have to face it. Nobody can stop the time and technology. It has to come. We have to understand it before the terrorist and criminal understand these things. The Bitcoin is there. Huge money is there. It's being mined in Pakistan, mined in many countries. So we have to understand these things. From government to e-government. Today, no government can even think to without working on these things. So we have the traditional government, but today it's the e-government. And I think personally that the world has already charted its course on these 17 SDGs. Because to me, this is the future of the world. If you will not understand the SDGs today, we will face the same fate which we faced in MDGs. I won't go into details. Everybody sitting here understand what I'm saying. Today, we immediately need a dashboard for SDGs. Everything. You know, we are doing something very, very important, very, very vital in Pakistan. A lot of people are contributing into it. A lot of government and private sector organizations are contributing into it. But I do not find the synergies between all these things. And especially when these collated data synergies goes to the dashboard where world can see what we are doing in SDGs. From diplomacy to diplomacy, the era of traditional diplomacy has gone. This was this era, when people used to fight each other, sitting in the embassies. But this is the era of e-diplomacy, where all diplomatic matters, everything under the sun by the missions abroad, or whether in Pakistan, whether abroad, they are on the e-diplomacy. What are our challenges? Unknown threats, unknown characters, exponentially increasing the threats over critical infrastructures. Speakers before me have talked a lot on these things, so I will not go into details. But, welcome. Thanks. Thanks. I welcome the chief guest. Sir, I was speaking about the threat to critical infrastructures. It's a very serious threat, as the speakers before me had talked about it. So, another threat is the gaps in the relevant stakeholders. It's a big threat. A lot of organizations in public and private sector organizations are doing it, but they are doing isolations. We need to have a cybersecurity policy, cybersecurity strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand the difference between cybercrime and cybersecurity. Taking the cognizance of cybercrime is the 100% mandate of Government of Pakistan. But when you talk about security of cyberspace, you need to involve telcos, ISPs, banking sector, corporate sector, even the man on the street, because he is the victim of cybercrime. So, unless we do not understand that when we talk about cybercrime, yes, law is there, but I don't see any law in cybersecurity. I do not see any national cert. If you have a fire in the house, where do you go? You go to fire brigade. If there's a theft in the house, you go to the police station. Where do you go when there's a cybercrime, a cybersecurity breach? If you go to FIA and R3C, I have been panic head for years. They say it's not our job. Our job is to arrest the criminals. Report us the matter, we will correct. So we need to fill all these challenges and gaps before we proceed further. What is the history of booms in the world? Very briefly, we had in the past, we have the boom in 20th century in the stock markets, then we have the boom in house industry. So these are all previous booms. But what are the future booms? The future booms are cryptocurrencies. We need to understand these things. IoTs, Internet of Things, coming very fast. And the future is of artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence is a rarity. What is the democratization of artificial intelligence? It has a lot of fears. People are scared about it. Recently, some American CEO of the company said it will make the human beings as pets. Yes, if we don't understand it rightly. It is for grassroots. It is much more beyond robotics, whatever we think. It is going to take over even our thinking process. It is going to democratize every process in Pakistan. It is for everyone. It is for the people, for the grassroots. It has two dimensions. One, it can damage. One, it can help us. So we have to see which side of the story we adopt. What are the latest threats? 419 scams, which were traditional Nigerian scams. Now these people have learned new ways. And we receive now interestingly mails, messages, again people are being fleeced. So criminals are always very fast learners. They learn much before our intellectual learn these things, our university learn these things, because they know how to get money from the people. It's a big revolution and we have to understand it. What are the latest tests? Ransomware. People have talked about it, I won't go into detail, but trust you me, it's a big fear. And to my personal knowledge, a lot of organizations in Pakistan have already paid about it. Secretary Sahab has talked about WannaCry. Yes, it is there. But who is going to help them? It's a matter of organization reputation. Like credit card. If you lose your credit card money, you go to the bank, they say, okay, settle it. Because it's a matter of... So, we have to understand this dimension also. Cybersecurity, we need a different approach now. Our traditional systems are not going to help us. Starting from the firewall, starting from the SIEM solutions, we need to understand the new behavior-based. We have to make a mixed blend of the technology and the human beings. Dr. Ammar talked about cyber warriors. Yes, we need to train our people. We make them cyber scouts, we make them cyber warriors. So we have to take people from the best universities. Behavior-based cybersecurity. We need to understand that the traditional solutions are failing. Whatever SOC gives, technical people sitting here, whatever SIEM gives, whatever SIM gives, trillions of bytes of data, can we realize it in real time? No. It only tells us the patterns. Now there should be some cyber threat hunters trained for specific purposes, trained for specific critical infrastructures. They can sniff the package, they can understand these things, and they should respond real time. Normally, such attacks comes, to my experience, at 2 a.m. in the night. So there must be somebody to respond immediately, because 2 a.m. here means 2 p.m. somewhere else. So it's a virtual world. Terrorists are using it for in a proactive sense, and recent case studies have shown that there are very, very organized people sitting on these things. So we'll have to build the corresponding infrastructures, corresponding manpower, corresponding rules, regulations, corresponding in a response system. Just very interesting to explain to you, when in 2002, 15 years before, we named NR3C. What was that? National Response Center for Cybercrime. Few FI officers sitting here. What was the strategy? Strategy was that government should control the crime, at the same time it should respond to the cybercrime. Gentlemen, 2002, the name was NR3C, National Response Center for Cybercrime. Rightly, somebody said we need to respond. But how can we respond if we are working in isolation? We need to work under a policy, under a strategy. So when I talk about behavior-based, we need to adopt some incident-centric report. When some incident happens, it should be immediately analyzed, immediately nurtured, immediately fusions, and the corresponding officer, if it is a banking attack, we should immediately, if it is a defense attack, immediately. So this incident response, we need to develop the cyber hunting models, and the experts should be sitting there. Cloud. We have already got to cloud, and very fastly in next 2 to 3 years, I think 95% things will be in the cloud. So we need to understand the ecosystem of the cloud. It is not a software only, it's not a hardware only, it's a number of things written here. These are all integrators. So all these things are working in sync. It's a single point of failure. Think about a minute. Think about a minute. If single point of failure works, what's going to happen in Pakistan? Cloud ecosystem is interdependent. You make one thing fail, the others start immediately fail. Single point of failure, and we have to catch the threat immediately. Disaster recovery challenges. Yes, we have a disaster, how to recover from it. The traditional business continuity planning and disaster strategies have never remained relevant, because these were based on after the disaster, something has happened. We need to understand that cyber threats are real. We need to anticipate the threat and be prepared when it happens. The climate change, the nature-made disaster, the recent pattern of climate change is definitely going to change the systems rightly we are having. There'll be more rains, there'll be different climates in different parts of the country. So we have to align all of our strategies with these changing factors. Disaster recovery challenges, we need to introduce cyber insurance. If some organization loses some data or some network, it is already there. We just need to make awareness in the people, the organizations, to go for cyber insurance. There are new opportunities. We should grab these with new challenges. Unless we do not understand the challenges, Internet of Things. Even today, if you see on the television daily, Jaffry controlling his AC on the web mobile application. What is that? It's the Internet of Things. Things are talking to each other. I think 5 years down the road, if somebody calls you from FIA and says that your fridge has attacked my website, don't worry. Fridge will have working on an IP address. So using that IP address, I can attack on anybody's website. So we should prepare on the cryptocurrencies, on the blockchain. You know, very briefly, blockchain started from the currencies. But immediately it came to the contracts and all these things. And the next is the revolution, Industrial Revolution 4.0. So all these things are synced now. We can talk about cryptocurrencies. We can stop them the way we like. Again, I have an argument on that. We should be understanding these things. But blockchain, I am very positive, and I request Mr. to speak on it. It's going to stay, let me tell you, whether we like it or not. It's going to stay. We need to understand blockchain. Blockchain is going to change the basic paradigm of whatever we are doing right now. New opportunities, fintech. All our banking systems are going to change in next 3 to 5 years. So the banking industry people sitting here, they should understand the all new platforms which are coming now. Just think for a minute how we used to do banking 20 years ago, 10 years ago, how we are doing today. So you will gradually understand how we will do banking in next 5 years. New generation internet, it's already there. Japan has already started it. It's much beyond the existing internet we are talking about. Industrial Revolution 4.0 is going to take over. Actually, we should right now invest in our SMEs, so that when this revolution actually comes after 2-3 years, they are ready to accept the change. We need a coordinated working. Very simple. Then my last 2 slides, what we need to do. Cybersecurity is now a business enabler. It's not a cost center. It's the management now. It's the board people who have decided about it, whether they want to live in business or they want to be out of the business. So we need to have all these strategies in making a cyber secure Pakistan. We need an ecosystem in which private sector, government, universities, NGOs, man on the street is working together. Cybersecurity policy, very important. And let me bring on record, in 2013, with the help of the 40 stakeholders, 40, and I must repeat, there was a Senate Defense Committee. The people on the board were people from the agencies, people from the police, from FIA, from the universities. There were 40 people. Some of them are sitting here right now, I can see them. They worked for 2 years and drafted a cyber security policy of Pakistan. It's still there. I would request the ministry to start working from that. You may not like it, you may not, but please, that will give you a starting point to do something. And that was coordinated by the Ministry of IT. We need research and development to immediately identify the new patterns of threat. We need to have an ecosystem in making the formulation, and we need to fill the gaps which are right now there in the cybersecurity policy. How we can achieve it? I think we can achieve it by the cyber, because it's a demand-driven thing now. We have to understand it, and we have to work on one-point agenda that we need to engage communities. We need to engage cyber scouts. Recently, I started going to the schools. I recently went to the road school, and I'm very excited that small kids are ready to understand these things. From that nursery, we'll bring people upstairs. We'll have to engage in cyber drills. We'll have to engage in cyber warrior drills, and we have to work with a vision. And with the CGS, with the Ministry of IT, we are working on a Cybersecurity Pakistan Year 2025. And this is my last slide. And this is the on 29th of March. We are very thankful to CGS for the NUST for helping us in organizing this event. I would request all of you to please join hand with us. And in this event, we have requested the President of Pakistan to be the chief guest in this event. And I request the help from all of you sitting here, that please, whatever is decided here, whatever is discussed here, we should make a draft report. In the next 2 months, we should work on it. And in this event, which will be organized by all of us together, we can make it. My last word is that if we dream alone, it will remain a dream. If we dream together, it will be a reality. Thank you all.